Hi, it's Monday, June 25th, 2012, and this is a 10-minute video summarizing water conveyance planning history for California. It's going to go very quick, but you can look back at any of these maps and the references to the maps. I'm going to start with 1945. That's when a through delta conveyance was first proposed. You can see by the cursor it shows this is a delta map, and it showed going widening the McCollum, and that's 1945. In 1960, and you know what, I'm going to enlarge these a little bit so you can see them better. In 1960, there was the proposal to use Sacramento River and then go on down by modifications to what's called the Delta Cross Channel Gate, and then use the McCollum River system to get it down to the export pumps, which are down here. In 1977, the state continued with its planning for this same project, even though there was a lot of objections due to possible injury to the environment in the delta and the native fish species and animal species and water flows and navigation. There were a lot of complaints. Anyway, so 1997, planning was still continuing despite the complaints, and here's a reference to a University of California Resource Center, UC Davis, where it gives a summary of some of this as well. Anyway, in the late 1970s, there was this plan to, as you can see, it looks very similar to the last one from the 60s and 45s, where you take the water from the Delta Cross Channel gates and run it down the McCollum River down to the export pumps down here. In 1982, there was a vote. It was called for the peripheral canal, and there's a pretty resounding no. The people of the state of California didn't want that. It wasn't just a matter about not wanting to spend the money to build it. There was a real recognition of the destruction to Northern California aquifers and water supply if more water is diverted down south. Well, so that was the vote in 1982, but no doesn't mean no to, doesn't mean the same thing to everybody. So by 1997, the state is still planning for what they changed the name to dual conveyance alternatives, and this is 1997 introduction by Department of Fish and Game and working with DWR and other planners, and which leads to the CalFed Record of Decision in the year 2000. And you can look for the executive summary. This is one of the maps right here. Again, what do we see? This preferred alternative is revising the McCollum River system to create a central conveyance down using the existing waterways modified. Here's another one. This is called the Preferred Alternative Plan of CalFed, and once again it shows an intake and modifications to these levees and then modifications down here. So what happens from there? What we see is that a review of Metropolitan Water District, that's MWD, in 2004 did this pretty good presentation. You can still find it at this website right here that's linked, and it's their call to action saying let's go ahead and get this done. And they create a coalition, and you can see some of the people in the coalition: Westlands Water District, Metropolitan Water District, Kern County, state water contractors, Aqua, business property developers, basically. And that's the coalition that says let's get going, let's go ahead and create the central canal. We're tired of studying. So oh, and by the way, Jones Track happened in 2004, and that was billed as a big old levee failure, freshwater levee failure, and it was actually just part of the Jones Track field studies for delta storage. Anyway, there's lots of documents on that. So going on, by 2006, we are looking at a lot of different maps, different planning groups. Still looks the same though. They might call it different names, but we're doing this through delta conveyance. Here it is again, and this particular DREAMS report, this was the preliminary for the DRMS, or DREAMS report, and it actually proposed that an intake near Hood was not necessary because they had Greens Landing and other ways of modifying, creating gates down in this area, and they thought that and still do think that will satisfy the thirst for Sacramento River water by diversions. Okay, the problem with all of this is it's recognized that this through Delta facility raises EC. That means salinity. That's the measurement for salinity. Well, it's going to raise salinity for the Sacramento River at Rio Vista. And Rio Vista has always been freshwater, and so to take so much Sacramento River water that Rio Vista becomes a brackish or saltwater area is definitely going to be damaging to the environment of the Delta. So in any case, time marches on, and so do the water exporters, and they call it the Delta Improvements Package. That's really a Delta water export improvement package. It's not improvements to Delta per se. Then they have this Delta Conveyance Improvement Studies Summary Report, and notice it says Conveyance. It later gets renamed North Delta Flood Control and Ecosystem Restoration Project because the restoration is done at the same time as the conveyance improvements are made. So this is the 2006 CalFed conveyance actions in the Delta screenshot, and I added check marks to the conveyance actions that have actually been built or are in progress. And you can go and drive around the Delta and go see some of these things. Those are all conveyance actions already built. So when people talk about something for the future, they're already built, so presumably they already know the cost they spent. And those actions alone are taking too much or will take way too much water from the Delta. Here's another word for it, Echo Crescent Middle River Conveyance. That was another Metropolitan Water District word for it. Looks very much like the freshwater corridor, which is what's called in 2012. So by the end of 2011, there's a lot of projects that are completed or under construction, and the problem with that is north of the Delta, at the same time these were being built, there's new intakes that result in taking more water out of the Sacramento River north of the Delta, which means less inflow into the Delta. And that's not accounted for in all the computer modeling for all this planning of flows through the Delta. End result, there won't be enough water left in the Delta. So now I'm going to go to the second poster, and again you can see all these posters. Let me move that down. It's posted at deltarevision.com, and go to the videos page, and you can see full size of each of these maps as well. So now I'm gonna enlarge these two. I'm going very quickly. Here we go. Here's that export conveyance element. They Dreams Report Phase 2 called it Armored Pathway. Still looks that same pathway. And I just wanted to note this is another, Metropolitan Water District slideshow presentation from 2004 slide, and it notes that State Water Project has this promise of 8,500 cubic feet per second. It's a conveyance guarantee, and then the State Water Projects and Central Valley Project will start operating jointly through the intertie, and so that's going to gives more flexibility, but it still results in more exports and harder to track when the Delta starts going dry. Okay, so what do we see? We're 2012. We see the Central Valley Flood Protection Plan, which definitely coincides with all this other planning going on. It will be used to build some of the proposed levees and change some of the natural waterways if it's approved, which it looks like it's going to be. Here's the Dreams Phase 2 again, just as a reminder. It's this through Delta. We keep hearing about Bay Delta Conservation Plan, and they talk about all these different tunnels and different ways of transporting water. But if you go to their interactive map, you'll see that the central conveyance alternative, which is one of the dual conveyance parts of plan, that one is being built, and it is once again the same pathway pretty much. So now we're 2012, and we have what's called the Delta Coalition, and that's supposed to be Delta landowners making proposals for work to be done in the Delta. So let's look at what these are. This Delta Coalition, it does have a lot of Delta farmers and engineers that have handled reclamation districts in the Delta, and these projects are 2.5 million to 5 million or things like that. And then in the midst of all of these, we see Department of Water Resources, Metropolitan Water District, those guys, East Bay Mud, and their projects are 100 million, 80 million, let's see, what is that total? 500 million is that project, 4 billion, another $30 million project. All those multi-million dollar and billion-dollar projects, those are not Delta people per se proposing those. Those are outside interests inserting these projects. Now, I should qualify that. There may be some Delta people, the landowners, corporate landowners that own the land that would be affected by this, and they're going to get some sort of benefit from it. They may be in favor of that. But that is a huge amount of money being proposed to do work, all of which has to do with conveying water outside the Delta. Let's look at a few other of them. So here's another one. There's a South Sacramento Agricultural and Habitat Lands Water Recycling Project that is over $100 million project to take Sacramento River sewage and put it in the Delta. Then we have a couple other ones, other water supply projects. That's another north of the Delta intake for Davis and Woodland. And then we have Bacon Island project and strategic levee project for the through Delta conveyance. $500 million. So those are huge projects that are being proposed, and that's all happening through this Delta Coalition proposals, and they're having a meeting actually in a few days. So what do these proposals add up to? I basically took the map used for the CalFed preferred alternative from the year 2000, and when you add up these proposals, what do? We see, once again, the whole CalFed preferred alternative. We don't see yet an intake being built here, but the verbiage from the Freeport intake that was already built, it says that it could be easily connected to and expanded, so those two might be tied together. Anyway, I'm going to look at a couple of the other projects, and please do pay attention to what's going on. All of this combined will basically drain the North Delta of its fresh water. So here's one of the projects where it cuts off this Elk Slough. Other proposals say to reconnect this Elk Slough. Not sure what's going to go on with that. Here's a proposal for Mandeville Island. Here's the proposal for the levee setbacks and the freshwater and fish corridor down in the South Delta. If you go drive down there, these are already built, so it's interesting that it's being proposed when they are already built or in progress. So here's the McCormick-Williamson tract again. Once again, that is one of the levee and dredging projects I think we'll be seeing very, very soon in 2012 or 2013. Here is the Bacon Island in Delta Storage project coming back, and here's some restoration projects. Thank you very much for listening. Please pay attention. All of these water projects combined, I am sure, are going to drain the North Delta if they're not stopped.